Dear participant, I am pleased to welcome you to the second part of the Business and Science Forum, Green Deal, the way improving the well-being of the society and the business. In the first part, you have met various companies, one of which have presented innovative technological solutions, others have introduced new food production methods and their products. These are examples how we can move step by step to the aim of a Green Deal. However, we still have various questions how we will succeed in achieving the goals of a Green Deal. And I wish what today's discussions of the forum will help to us find this answer, where representatives of the business, government, and the science will share their ideas. And this partnership between science, business, and the government is extremely important for us. And in the first discussions, we will have a discussion about farm-to-fork strategy for the fair, healthy, and environmentally friendly food system. And I would like to introduce the moderator of the first panel discussion, Mindaugas Maciulevičius. He is the founder and director of a public institution, Baltic Sustainable Bioeconomy Development Agency. He has 30 years founding member and director of the AgriCop Developing Short Supply Chains, Lietuviško ūkio kokybė. In 2017 and 2020, he was the vice president of the European Agri-Cooperatives Association. In 2010 and 2020, the member of the European Economic and Social Committee, and since 2040 board member of the Lithuania Association of the Agriculture Cooperatives, Kooperacijos Kelias, and Lithuania Association of the Land and Forest Owners. Dear Mindaugas, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Ooh, it's spooky. So everyone, welcome. Good afternoon to you. I hope you had a good lunch, and I saw it was very nice, and I can see all the smiles on the faces, so the mood is good, and you're ready for more debates about sustainable food systems. So from the beginning, I would like to invite my panelists who are very active in this field, and I'm really happy that we have a good mixture. We have scientists, we have farmers, and we have government officials, so I'm hoping that we're going to have a good discussion. And first of all, I would like to invite Vilma Atkočiūnienė, professor at Faculty of Bioeconomy Development at Vytautas Magnus University Agriculture Academy. So Vilma, please take one of the benches over here. They're very comfortable, I believe. So, and now, secondly, I would like to invite Kristina Simonaitytė, advisor to the Ministry of Agriculture of the Republic of Lithuania. And Kristina, welcome. You can take this seat, it's very comfortable. And there is some water if you want, so please feel free. And now we have Aušrys Macijauskas, chairman of the Lithuanian Grain Growers Association. And Aušrys is our farmer, and very important farmer who has a big knowledge in the field. So Aušrys, the floor is yours. And our fourth panelist comes directly via internet, and from Germany, Mr. Andreas Meyer-Aurich. He is coming from Leibniz Institute for Agricultural Engineering and Bioeconomy and Humboldt University of Berlin. And how are you, Andreas? I am sorry,
Hello.
I hope your chair is comfortable enough. Our is comfortable, so I hope you're as comfortable as we are over here in Lithuania.
Yes, I'm very jealous not to being with you today, but unfortunately I was not able to come. But I'm sitting comfortably. Thank you.
Fantastic. It's good to see you and good to hear you. Anyway, it's new age now. We're all remote nowadays, so it's same as being here. Good to see you. So, and let's start our discussion. And first of all, I would like to start this. The key question for me, working with the subject for 10 years already, we have ambition, global ambitions, we have EU ambitions, we have national ambitions. and we are so enthusiastic about how we are going to change our way of farming and our way of feeding our populations. And we have two targets that we're discussing, 2030, 2050, and we're discussing, for example, 2050 altogether climate neutrality, 2030 significant reductions in the production of agricultural products. We are discussing that at that time, and the ambition is at that time, it's going to be a lot more healthier food, a lot more healthier diets. Our way of farming is going to be a lot more environmentally friendly, respecting biodiversity, respecting climate, and other environmental issues. And at the same time, we have to grow more, because we all know that it's going to be, a lot more people living on this planet after 30 years. Is it possible? Is it possible in that sense that to reduce your emissions, to reduce your technological input, and to grow your yields? Or what is the strategy? How we are going to do that? So I think we'll start from Vilma, and I'll ask Vilma to share your vision, let's say, how you see that agriculture, 2030, 2050.
Thank you. So as scientists, I'm starting with 4 sites, what we see. And I think that at first it's very important local food, locality, eco-localization is very important. And another thing that food waste, it is if we can develop short food supply chains, value chains of food. So again, we can avoid food waste. Another very important thing, now we are talking about short food supply chains, about value chains, but we are not talking and we are not planning local food systems. So it means that local food systems, it's subsystems of regional food systems, and of course it's subsystem of global food system. So it means that again we can fulfill the aim of food miles. We can avoid food waste. And another very important thing is that we have to think about new products, new local products, and as much as possible to develop local knowledge. And of course we can get from the global level a lot of new technologies. And this multifunctional food, new generation food, it is very important things. So it means that if I can conclude what I have said, that these levels are very important, territorial dimension are very important, and it's very important to participate small family farms in the market with the final production. So it means that a lot of stakeholders have to participate in the market, and of course behavior of the consumers. So it means supply and demand we have to balance, and if we want to grow more, so it means that we have to know how much more, and friendly with the nature.
Thank you very much, and this is very important subject. So when discussing about the future food systems, it's not about agriculture we should be talking only about, but also appreciating the consumer, and we have to find the ways how to change the consumer behavior, how to eat more healthy or to buy more healthy, waste less food, and all of those social initiatives. And it's also part of, let's say, scientific research, I believe.
Yeah, and especially about new European Union countries, we are talking about minimum 3 models, business to consumer, business to business, and business to the government. And I think that business to the government, it is less developed model, and still we do not have strategies, national strategies, how to implement this model. And of course, farmers are not ready to, but we have to support them and to motivate them to participate. And the government, it's big buyer, and the government can demonstrate the leadership in this case.
Mm-hmm. So what you are saying is less exports, imports, more local, and kind of applying and surviving from your local grown produce, whatever you have.
Yes, I'm supporting this direction.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. And I would like also to ask Christina, in terms of, let's say, the government policy here in Lithuania, I assume also kind of you can touch a little bit the EU policies that we are discussing on about. From the policy point of view, where we are at and what is the plan. Can you convince us and can you convince Aušrys that it is possible, and me as a consumer that will be not hungry in 40 years' time? What is the big deal and what is the strategy?
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, first of all, for inviting me here to be at this interesting event. And to build on what a previous panelist said and what you asked about the Green Deal in general, in a broader sense, and what are the European plans, but also what are our national plans. So we have the Farm to Fork strategy adopted last year, and as well as biodiversity strategy, which came like two documents at the same time. And so the key goals outlined in these strategies talk about more environmentally friendly and more healthy food and more locally produced sustainable food, whereas the quantifiable targets outlined there refer mostly to the environmental measures. So we are talking about reduced use of pesticides, reduced use of fertilizers, reduced loss of nutrients from the soils, and also help for recovery of biodiversity through establishment of landscape features in currently productive or unproductive lands as well. So all these goals are more related, as I said, to environment, but obviously agriculture is a very a particular sector that these global issues of climate change or biodiversity loss, they cannot be simply addressed through technological breakthroughs and technological solutions. People are very important in this sector, as well as nature. So we have these three, I think, key parts that have to be kind of dealt with together. So we can't just put a lot of money into buying new equipment and expect that will solve all the problems, will reduce the CO2 emissions, or help biodiversity. It's very important to also have at the same time increased knowledge exchange, and also you mentioned the consumer part, right? So I think we often forget that nowadays, but we also see a lot of changes coming from that direction that influences not just the politics, the political level, but also the producers, the farmers themselves. So and I think the see these changes in directions, and it's not just what Europe says or what the government says, but it's also what consumer says. So you do have to think about these things as well, and I think it's only natural that we will progress in that direction. And now just to finish off this introduction, I will mention a few of the goals of this government and of my minister as well. So we are also considering Green Deal as one of the key priorities of this government, together with digitalization and education. So, and the Green Deal in agriculture means farming more friendly with nature, and especially great attention paid to soils, the soil health, how to ensure that it's supports our agriculture, but it's also healthy and good for biodiversity and contributes to reducing CO2 emissions. And as was mentioned as well, the short supply chains. So I think that involves the social part as well, and is very important to encourage the more local consumption, more, as you said, the use, the government, or maybe you said the government is a big, user of the products, and so I think we will touch about that, talking maybe more in detail on ecological farming and expansion of that. So maybe I'll stop here.
Thank you. And a couple of things over here you can see. First of all is on the EU level and on the global level, we're discussing targets, and we have set ambitious targets, especially in EU. And we are the pioneers, and we're leading the world, and we're saying that, we'll be the most ambitious who are going to, for example, what comes to climate, CO2 emissions reduction and methane. And for me, the 2050 goal, knowing that, for example, what comes to agriculture, it's going to be climate neutral agriculture, and we only have, 29 years left. Are we not too slow, and are we not too ambitious on the national levels? And I'm not only talking about Lithuania as a country, but all over the member states. Is there enough attention for the investments, for the kind of required infrastructure, for the future growth, for the education, for the research, and all those incentives? How you feel from the government perspective? Is it really enough, or you can see that more could be done and quicker?
It's a tough question. But I think, well, especially the Ministry of Agriculture, we are really, the key file that we are dealing with is the Common Agricultural Policy, and it's, it's all about the money. So it's really about of course we have a certain framework of the percentages, that have to be allocated to certain goals. And so probably most of you know that over a third of the upcoming CAP is going to be dedicated to climate action and, climate related goals. So that already kind of puts us on certain tracks, that's what we have to do. But it is up to member states to decide, what it is climate action, and what kinds of measures will we take that will fulfill kind of the criteria for this money, but at the same time will contribute to our national goals and also the European goals. So it's a balancing act, obviously. So there's our role, but also the role of stakeholders, of people, of experts that can advise us. So I think for everyone here, it would be really hard to look, towards 2050 and say, this is how we're going to get there. But I think it's very important to start thinking about this now, and, the problems, they do require urgent action. So I think as the sooner we will start, and maybe we'll make mistakes along the way, but we will get there. So I'm a strong believer of that. And also, with the agriculture, actually, at least the net zero, we'll probably have to get there faster than that, but than 2050. But I think, I think it's possible if we work together. I really liked your what you said, that it's really key to involve all the different partners, because otherwise, this is that's really the way to get there where we want to.
Thank you. And what we are looking for is some sort of a societal shift, a transition towards this green, but all together rather than the one sector. And this is very important. I think someone who will come up with the idea how to make it happen will get the Nobel Prize, but let's wait and see. But we are all working on the same. So now, Aušrys, as a farmer, I would like to ask you how you see your future. Okay. Yeah, okay, I'll go a little bit here maybe. How you can see your future within this future requirement of huge investments, on the way you have to change your agricultural practices, on the way you have to produce the food, that it's a lot more protecting biodiversity, environment, it's climate neutral. I believe it's very much also not only societal shift, but also technological issue, also maybe digitalization has a huge role to play, but also infrastructure. How you see our preparedness as a farmer? Can you see that happening by 2050? And what is missing and what you would like to encourage?
Thank you for the question. Hello, everybody. All studies which are available at the moment, all studies about Green Deal, how it will change our lives, show that production of food will decrease in European Union by 25% in 2030. Not 50, but 30. And incomes of farmers will decrease too by 25%. At the same time, imports from third countries will rise sharply. And these imports will be of cheap food, not sustainable food, and food which was produced in ways we don't know how. From, for example, South America, China, Russia, and other countries. So, challenges is big. And there is no simple recipe how to achieve these goals, to bring more biodiversity, to become climate neutral, and to produce enough food for our people in Lithuania, in the European Union. We are importers, we are net importers at the moment, because we are importing huge amounts of proteins from United States, from South America, million tons. Panamaxes, they are shipping this genetically modified soya to Europe every day. We are fully independent on that. And if our production will decrease in next 20 years or 30 years, I don't know how we will feed our animals. And of course, this will be a huge problem. Ecological farming. We use term in Lithuania ecological, but that's not good, because all other countries, they are saying organic farming. Organic farming is not panacea too, because organic farming needs more area to produce the same amount of food. And they are not better if we look at biodiversity and CO2 emissions. So this is not panacea. And the last study of University of Göttingen in Germany shows that conventional farm with some technologies and some features could bring more biodiversity. We need to produce food on very, very productive land, and we can leave some land not so productive for ecological focus area, let's say, like buffer stripes, stripes of flowering plants, ponds, ditches, and so on. So we can achieve these goals, but we need a lot of investments. We need a lot of science we don't have today. Much more science We need education of farmers. We need smart machinery for precision farming. We can use 5 or 10 times less pesticides with this smart machinery. Use only weight need and only when need and only yes. Spot spraying, not whole area, but only some spots. We need machineries that can recognize diseases, that can recognize pests, and to use only what we need and only when we need. So, but science, investments, precision farming, mechanical weeding, biocontrol, integrated control of diseases and pests. This is a solution, not only to ban use of fertilizers, to ban use of pesticides, expand ecological farms, organic farms. This is not the way we need to go.
Thank you. Thank you, Shisan. I would like to ask, just to extend your question a little bit. It's not, it's very clear what you are saying, that we have to have a technological shift, but at the same time, we know that our climate is changing, and okay, the target is we have to stop it for change, but at the same time, we can see that, you know, every year we have more droughts or we have floods, and every year we're reading articles that farmers are more and more suffering, losing the yields, and the prediction of the scientists is that after 10 years, it's going to go even more extreme, and we have those extremes every so often. Let's say it used to be maybe every 20 years, it can be every 5 years, we'll have extreme weather conditions. And how farmers are preparing for that, because this is also a natural need to prepare in order to be able to stay in the business. If we'll keep on losing our yields every second year, it's not going to be sustainable or economical.
Of course, all farmers in Europe, around the world, in Lithuania too, we are feeling that we have more these bad events, droughts or heat waves, like we had this summer in Lithuania, this record heat wave. 2 weeks temperature was above, in daytime above 30 degrees, and at night didn't drop below 20 degrees. And that damaged our yields, our harvest this year. Of course, we need to prepare for that, but like I said, only farmers can't do that. We need support and help. We need investments. We need more money for shifting to next technology, to shift from 20th century technology to 21st century technology, to smart and precision farming with irrigation systems. We need a new melioration system. We need to save our spring water in lowest parts of our farm, and then to use it for irrigation, for example. We need new varieties which are more sustainable, can sustain some droughts or heat waves. We need new pesticides, more friendly pesticides, because, like I said, organic farming is 20th century technology, but we are living in 21st century. We need new approach to agriculture. Agriculture must become high-tech. We need new technologies and new machinery, and like I said, more science. Science, science, science.
Thank you. And this is very, very clear. First of all, the main idea, what we understood over here in this conversation is the main challenge is not the technological issues, but it's access to funding, access to money. And this is where it comes from. And we already heard that CAP as such is not enough. And we have to think of external ways how we are going to fund this transition. Let's say irrigation systems and kind of where melioration were mentioned, and we're only in this country, I believe we should be talking about billion plus euros only investment in that. And then you have all the infrastructural investment maybe in the climate smart technology, biogas facilities and all of those things. And now I would like to go to my dear friend Andreas from Germany. And I really believe, Andreas, that you are living in the most green country in Europe. What comes to agricultural technologies, every time I am going down there, I can see that you already 20 years ago started to think of what is happening now in Europe and the investments you made those times. For example, you know, cooperative-owned biogas facilities and some methane. Let's say you are managing your slurry properly, and then you have, you know, different cooperative-owned rapeseed oil facilities for I saw tractors going on the rapeseed oil. Okay, it's not sustainable anymore, as they say, but at that time it was, wow, when I was down there. But so someone was thinking already 20 years ago that in the future we are going to have a lot more investments and huge amounts of investments. Can you contribute from the Germany point of view on your vision for 2030 and 2050 and how you're going to go there and how you are thinking to fund that?
Yes, thank you very much, Mindaugas, for this question. And I would also take the opportunity to thank you for the invitation for this very interesting panel. And we have already listened to very interesting points of view, which I think very much reflect the spectrum of possible visions that there can be on the future and also on the presence that we have. And also, I would like to give you, congratulate you to this very excellent conference. I participated this morning, and you had some very excellent speakers this morning, which already very precisely gave the very interesting or very important directions and points where we have to think of. And for example, Andreas Pica, he was telling that we are approaching new paradigms. So we know this, that we are at a tipping point regarding the climate research. So there will be a point of no return, and then we have no chance anymore to act. So it is right that the Commission made very ambitious goals at this point, and I think that was the right time, and I also think that it was the right context and the right targets that were set, even though they are, as you said, they are really ambitious. And I'm also not sure how we can really will make it to there. But some things are important regarding this. That's first, we need to know that there are these targets in the future which are ambitious, where we want to go to. So the society and also the member states, they can think of how to adapt to this and how to change society, how to change the legal framework so that we can go towards climate neutral economy. And yes, that is. There was one other thing I just that just dropped me out regarding this. Yes, what is very important, I think, and that's new, that the consumers are more involved. So it's not only about producing and agriculture producing, but we also have we have also problems on the other side. We have obesity in the and wrong diets for many people. And on the other hand, we have food at low price and at low quality sometimes. So it's good that we have now targets towards better food. And as also said, from the farmer's perspective, I can understand these farmers' concerns. And also, what you say is that organic farming is the farming of the 20th century, and we need something new. That is a very interesting point, and we have to really think of how we design the farming of the future, what we need in addition to organic farming. So organic farming cannot be the only answer. But on the other hand, technology alone does also not help you. I'm coming from a technological institute, and we are working hard on new technologies, new inventions, which can help the society and farmers to make farming, to contribute to a better environment. But we also see that, first of all, the economic benefits, they are not always there. So it's not like this, that if you invest in technologies, that everything will be better. That is one problem that we have. And also what we see is that it's also not always like this, that with the technology, automatically, there's coming environmental benefit. So we need also a legislation or a framework which helps us to go into this direction. And so I think there is still a lot to go, a long way to go. And yes, also, well, for the scientists, always we have so many things we can work on. And I don't know if that already answers some of your questions. There is a lot to say about that, but maybe I give you the chance to ask first a question again to this.
Thank you, Andreas. And I would like also to extend my question a little bit. In Germany, your citizens are very well educated, and from what I heard, they're willing to pay more for their quality food. And you have a lot of consumers who are more and more, let's say, worried about what we eat. You have a growing organic market, but at the same time you have different quality labels, and they're increasing quite a lot. So it's, for me, it sounds like a part of a solution that if we are requiring from the farmer to produce more environmentally friendly and more healthy food, that as a consumer we have to understand that there is a price to that. And we have to kind of, as a society, to support that transition and to be ready to pay for the food and forget that phrase, the cheap food, and not start saving on the food, because what we eat is what we feel, how our health is, and all of those things. Can you elaborate a little bit more on this?
Yes, sure. You mentioned before also the German role in bringing up new technologies, and now you again brought up that the Germans are very well educated, and I am not sure how much better we are educated in Germany than in Lithuania. I would have my doubts about that, to be honest. But anyhow, there is, of course, perception of the importance of healthy food, and so there's also willingness to pay, but it's also only for part of the society. We also have a huge share of the society which prefer the cheap food, and you may know Aldi and Lidl, and well, sorry for mentioning company names here, but there are also others, and so Germany is also very famous for cheap food, so it's not only good food that we have, we also have cheap food. So it is both that we have, and but where we need the transition and the paradigm shift is that there needs to be a bigger understanding in the whole society on the importance of food, and this is a hope that I have, and yeah, as I said, I don't think that Germany is much ahead of other European countries in this regard. And let me also make a comment on this the technological advantage or things that we worked on in the past, like we had, for example, this EEG, which enabled the use of bioenergy for the electricity in Germany, which really made a big effort in contributing to a greener electric supply in Germany. And but we also had made our mistakes, or we learned from that, and we realized that some things did not went best, but we have to make mistakes on our way. There's no other way, and we only can learn from mistakes. That is something that I hope in this regard. And there's also one other thing I want to mention, which I also came from Andreas Pica this morning, where he said in the past we were also always thinking of substitutes. So, for example, we substituted biofuels by the normal fuel, but we didn't change anything in our behavior, and that doesn't help in the future. We have to change something. And only substituting products and keeping the same kind of consumer attitude that would not help. And so in this sense, I have hope that with this new impetus coming from the European Commission, that there will really be a change.
Thank you very much. And this is, we already discussed that, you know, part of a societal shift for the future, we have to have some sort of a joint undertaking. So citizens changing their behavior, industry changing their way of producing, farmers changing way of the producers, and retailers changing the way they're selling. So for example, there is no incentive for Lidl or Aldi or likes that to push the suppliers for the cheapest, and we have to rethink that to the greenest or to the most environmentally friendly and most socially friendly kind of. We really need that transition, and I think we all in one boat over here.
Yes,
yeah.
I totally agree.
So that's perfect. We started our discussion, and I would like also to ask, I know that thousands of you watching this debate via YouTube over internet, and I would like also to ask you if you want to write something, or if you want to ask a question or specific question, you can do that in the YouTube on the comments, and we have the technology to read it, and we'll ask the question to our panelists. So at least we'll have some interaction. Same to the floor over here. It's hundreds of us over here anyway. And if anyone wants to ask a question, you can always put your hand up, and I'll give you the floor. And now I'm going to my second round of the questions, and we'll go to the science. And the science already, she said the science number one. Christina said science number one. Vilma said science number one. So most of the solutions is in the science. But let me challenge you. In the Europe, we have this fantastic program of joint funding called Horizon. And we already have spent so many billions of euros, and it's so long-lasting, and we made so many good projects, and we researched a lot already. And my question is, what is the obstacle why all over the Europe, and at the same time all over the world, because we have people from Turkey and different countries over here, why we are not sharing the knowledge, why we are not spreading the knowledge? And would you agree that there is a little bit of a bottleneck from the research which is done to kind of maybe some sort of a special program in replicating the ideas all over the Europe and globally, of course, because the climate, for example, is a global issue. Vilma, what do you think?
When I'm listening, so the goals are very ambitious. Yes, I agree on that. And of course, we need new instruments. And yes, we have a lot of programs, but what do we not have? It is co-creation process. So it means that in this co-creation process have to participate farmers, consultants, politicians, and scientists. And this co-creation process can help us. Again, I wanted to say that it was said that we need a technological shift, but we need social shift. And this means that we need new instruments or new methods how to work with the people and how to change this behavior. And for example, we have this instrument like a partnership organization mechanism, but you know, we transform mechanical theory to the social sciences. And what we understand that we have these 4 elements in this mechanism, but it means that we need synchronical behavior. And how to do this? Yes, of course, we can take this co-creation process. And again, what we found out, this European Innovation partnerships which we have in our food hub, now with 6 farmers, consultants, and scientists. And we understand that we have to start from the definitions. And for example, now what we found out again, that in the global level, we understand that this transformation to the regional, national, and local level, it is very complicated. So it means that in this transition period, we have a lot of gaps, again, which we have to fill full with new instruments, new methods. So what else? This social shift, according to your idea that we have to keep the same amount of the food, yes, we have to keep the same amount of the food, but we have to think about what kind of food. And I think that a very important thing is biological valuable food. And this is, again, it's not cheap, and again, it's sustainable food. So here, with this bottlenecks, we have to, how to say, pilot projects, and after that, the projects which can implement in bigger area. So, like that, I think.
This, I would like to extend that a little bit. For example, the innovation, the clear innovation, is agroecology, because it is a science. And I'm not talking about the certificate of organic, but I am talking about the agroecology as an innovation for farming, right? And a lot of progressive farmers, even conventional farmers, are using a lot of agroecological technologies in order to get, as you say, the best biological best food grown. And you know, what is the obstacle? Why we're not using that altogether as a part of our, for example, the computers and satellites is one thing, but agroecology is another, to make our agriculture more sustainable. What is the obstacle? What we are missing over here?
As I said, we are missing modern view. We are missing sustainability, because, as I said, this sustainability we understand completely different in this 4 stakeholder groups. And we are missing deep discussions between these stakeholder groups. And of course, to transform this discussion results to the decisions. And again, it is not easy process and very slowly process. As you know that in Lithuania, we're always in hurry. We're never in time. And so it means that the process, always we want to speed up. And when we speed up, some of the society already not in front, but in the back. So I think this is maybe philosophy, but sometimes we have to think about fast development and law grow.
Okay, thank you. And Christina, I would like to also extend this question to you. In terms of how we are going to shift the mentality of the farmer. So I assume you would agree with me that education and advisory services has a role to play. So for me, the biggest question in this sense is, are we satisfied with the service we have at the moment, or you can see more potential for the growth and innovativeness within the service? And at the same time, can we think of a system where we can share the experiences that, for example, our dear friend in Germany has with our advisory services? And there are different techniques that already are used in France and Germany, but we are not aware about that, or we never got a chance to look into that. How can we tackle this, I would call it a small bottleneck of the knowledge exchange?
Yeah, so I think there's actually more bottlenecks that you mentioned. So one is really exchange of knowledge between different partners in different countries, for example, different experiences from elsewhere. But then there's also this between, for example, in this case with the government and the scientists. Sometimes it feels like there's two separate entities completely, and the bridge is lacking. And but at the same time, often, I see that there's so much science produced locally here by our scientists, and we have on our website, or the ministry website, there's a whole space dedicated to new reports, new science deliverables from studies that we commissioned ourselves. But very often, the question can be raised: so what happened with those studies and their results? Did they inform our decision making or not? And how can we ensure that all these kind of places where the connections are lacking, that they are actually filled in. So I think that's one part. And then if I can refer to what you said about the pilot projects, while I do, I think they are important, and that's the way of innovation and discovering new things and finding solutions for the problems that we have. But I think we are at the point where we do need to start upscaling. So pilot projects, they are all fine and good, and they have their place and they are important. But really, for the challenges that we face and the goals that we need to achieve, which I really liked what was said before about the ambitious targets, right? So they, yes, they are in numbers, and yes, we are kind of expected to meet them. But I think what their better role is kind of setting a direction for us. This is where we need to go. And I think it is not necessarily a loss if we do not meet those targets, but I think the progress that we will do, to going towards them, I think it will already put us on the right path. So I don't know, I answered your question, or should I elaborate more?
I think so. I would like you to a little bit more elaborate on the
knowledge
advisory.
exchange, advisory service,
on
yes.
the advisory.
So I think that we do need to improve that substantially, I would say, because nowadays the system that we have, what at least I've been hearing, that it's not, it doesn't seem to be working as it's supposed to be, maybe, or maybe the farmers are not getting necessarily the knowledge that they do need, or that are necessary for these times. And I think we do need to innovate in this area as well, and think of different ways of reaching them and engaging with them, so that the knowledge really goes where it's supposed to go. So I think what I've been hearing from our stakeholders as well, that they would like to have more direct exchange between farmers, so that the people with the knowledge, the people who are experimenting now or piloting things on their farms, doing new things, using new technologies, that if we could find a way for them to be known and be able to share that knowledge with other people who might be interested in doing something like this. So that's one thing. And and also I can do a bit of a plug. We've been last half a year, we had this project in the ministry that's been working on these so-called farmers incubators. So they are directed towards more people who are new at farming, but we would like to start doing that. And because what we see, one of the problems is that the people who are working in the agriculture sector, we are seeing this aging population, right? And so there's a problem of the lack of young farmers and this generational transition, which was not yet mentioned here, which I think is very important in a context of Green Deal as well. So these farmers incubators, that's exactly the purpose, that you would, reducing the risk that takes, to start a new farm. You can give it a tryout, try new things and see, whether this is the way that you would like to continue with your life, and if this is your career. So I think all things like this, these innovative solutions, they could really help boost this advisory aspect, which is really crucial as well. So.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'll go with this question also to Shrees. And first of all, I'll give an example from our history that I think I really felt that, the biggest transition, the knowledge transition within the farmers started when we were allowed to go to the Western Union and we saw the ways our friends in the West were farming. And we saw with our own eyes, and we understood the technology, and it was the biggest transition at that time. And we made maybe in 2 or 3 years a huge transition from this old type agriculture to this modern new type. And even now we are traveling with the buses, with the planes, and we are looking what our friends in other countries are doing. But at the same time, our friends from France and from Austria, they are coming to Lithuania and they are watching what we are doing. So for me, it's natural say that the exchange of knowledge between the farmers is very important. And what else is important for you, Shrees? Like how else you would be convinced as a farmer to make the investment into technology that you are required to do?
Very good question in the words. This year we had new disease in winter wheat we never seen before. And advice from our scientists from Dortmund Institute is to postpone sowing of winter wheat. But farmers, they drilled winter wheat at the same terms like they did 100 years, from 10th of September until 20th of September, because they scare. I scare. If it will be very rainy or cold weather in October, if it will be very wet, I will not drill at all. And my incomes next year will be much lower, because from spring crops I can't get the same yield like from winter crops. So we scare. We need safety net. For example, safety net for area in which we introducing some new. 2 weeks ago, I met with farmers from United States, and they have this safety net. Incomes didn't depend on prices in the market, on weather. This is government running program that assure that incomes will be the same like in 10 years before. For example, we can introduce that program for 10% or 20% of the farm. If I am in cooperation with university and we are starting something new, some new technologies, I want to be safe. I want my family be safe. And we need this safety net for this new projects. And that is, maybe that is a decision.
Yeah, this is a good suggestion. So the idea is there is a lack of, the farmers are afraid to use newer technologies because they're not trusting them. So if it would be a safety net, this is a good conclusion. Why not? One of them. Let's think about that. And Andreas, I would like to also ask you, in terms of the advisory, I know in Germany you are you are doing very well. And at the same time, I know that there is a good exchange between Lithuanian advisory services and German advisory service. And if you can elaborate on that, but at the same time, if you can extend that, are there any exchanges with the rest of the world, with the third countries? Maybe, you know, you are working, because again, I'm coming back to you, the challenge is global, the climate is global, the biodiversity is global, everything is global. So we really need not only to look after ourselves, but to look into our friends all over the Europe continent as such, and of course, the world.
Yes, thank you very much for this question again. And so you're tackling on the question of innovations and the question which innovations would have a chance to be adopted, and so you also mentioned bottlenecks. So why would new innovations not be adopted and would not change agriculture and boost the agroecology, so that we come to the next level, so that we don't have these problems. I want to come back a little bit to the initial question that we had. So regarding the Green Deal, so it's not only about finding right technology so that the farmers' incomes are safe. That's of course a challenge. It's as it is already, as we just have heard, and that's not a trivial task, especially now in these times of changes. And so it's right to rely on the science. I have to tell that anyway, because I come from the science, and we are looking at all these innovations that there are. And so one would expect, that is what you said, that these innovations, they then should also help. They should make then benefits for the farmers, safety, and at the end also contribute to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and things like this. And but coming back to one of the questions that you directly asked me about the exchange, of course, now we are in a global world. We are exchanging with all scientists worldwide about the best approaches and the best technologies that there are, and they are always we are always inventing new things or thinking of new yes, inventions and technologies, innovations. For example, I personally also worked on the use of biochar to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in agriculture. That was a hype that started some 10, 20 years ago, for example, and many scientists around the world were looking at this, and there are some potentials where we can sequester carbon in the soil intelligently with this new engineering approach, but it also has some downsides, and it's not so easy to find the silver bullet that kills all. You know, I mean, we are still have to look for the right solutions. And while I'm speaking, I also have to say that it's not, we cannot, science will not help us with all the problems that we have. We can provide we can provide new innovations and show some ways which can mitigate some of the problems that we have. But it's not like you have shown that in the years ago when you had the chance to come to Western Europe and to see another world more or less with other technologies and rules, and you can just adopt it and then everything is fine. It's not like this. You cannot now travel to another country and say, we do it this way, and then everything is fine. Everybody now is in a more or less trial and error phase, and we are trying to find solutions, and some are maybe a little bit better off, and then we can learn from them. And you mentioned also the EU research programs, and I think that's an excellent way of exchanging ideas over all Europe. So we can learn from Portugal and from Sweden, from Finland, and everybody has something to contribute, some ideas, and maybe that also help in the local environment, but maybe also not. I mean, it's not there are not so many nuggets around that we can just take and then plug in. So there is still a lot to do, and yeah. I don't know if that probably doesn't answer the question, but that's why we are talking. I mean, we are looking for the right answers for this, and yeah, maybe you give me the opportunity also to tell a little bit more about the greenhouse gas mitigation issue, because that is something that that is associated with the Green Deal, as you said in the very beginning about this ambition of the European Commission to be carbon neutral, and everybody asks how is that possible, and the discussions that we hear here in Germany, they are rather not in the agricultural sector than in the energy sector, where new inventions with hydrogen technology are discussed, and in the agricultural sector, it is from my point of view, I think it's rather difficult to achieve this ambitious target in the short run, and so we have to be also honest in a way, so that we will not be able to produce food without having emissions. You know, we as we heard this morning, but if we apply nitrogen fertilizer, we will always have nitrous oxide emissions, which contribute to greenhouse gas emissions. It's impossible to turn that down to zero. So the only chance that we have is that we compensate that with other technologies, which can kind of also reduce greenhouse gas emissions, but this is always at a cost. So it's not that this will be in a win-win situation where everybody is happy at the end, and we say, yes, let's do it, and then everybody wins. But somebody will have to pay for that. And so there is still a long discussion about that, I think, until we come there. So maybe that's a bit, maybe a bit more than you have asked, but hopefully that's also helpful for the discussion.
Thank you very much. And this is a very interesting angle, kind of looking into needs and understanding that we are going to have to spend in the fields where we never spent before. And we are going to have to find some sort of a ways how to do that. And kind of part of the solution, I also see cooperatives and cooperating on, for example, forestry, and this is natural CO2 capture and storage, and then, you know, other ways of, as you say, biochar and maybe biogas plants, and all of those scientifically proven climate gases mitigation projects that we can use, and doing that jointly. And this cooperation would be, in this sense, a kind of societal science, and this is part of a challenge.
Yes.
So that's perfect. I'll open the floor to the questions that we're going to have. Are there any questions on the floor? No? And I think I don't have any questions from the YouTube yet, so we are hoping that someone will ask something, but okay, so at least the discussion is so interesting that no one is have no time to ask questions. So now it's very good. My best angle and my most important angle is cooperative and cooperation. And I would ask you a very simple question. Would you see cooperatives of the farmers and the need to cooperate as a solution, both technological and societal, to tackle the future issues, environmental, biodiversity, climate, and the same health and all those? What do you think? And is it the way forward in your view?
Yeah, as I said, that we have to transform ourselves and to be partners at first, yeah. And another very important thing that from the partnerships we have to transform to the cooperatives. And yes, we are talking about individual actions, farmers' actions, and stakeholder actions. So we are thinking, and I think that its main topic is collective thinking and collective behavior. So it means that cooperation is one of the horizontal models which we have to implement. And yeah, it's not easy job, especially in new European countries, post-Soviet countries. And what we can do, as I said, that we are scientists and we are creating some foresight, some models, and we can suggest, but it depends from community members. Do they understand them? Do they approve them? And do they implement this? And so it's a difficult task, but partnership organization mechanisms, as I said, that can help in this way. But another, I think, which we didn't observe approach, it is new economical models. So it's bioeconomy, share economy, cycle economy, and of course we have to start with the principles to implement these principles to different objects, and especially, for example, with short food supply chains, we have to think about zero waste strategies, and we have to think about cycle economy principles, how to implement, and it is, again, will be a big step in the development. So without cooperation, I think nothing we have to do.
Thank you, and it's all linked, bioeconomy and cooperation. I really think so. And let's say if we're using synthetical fertilizers at the moment, so there is so much organic fertilizers available, and we're not using that. It's not clever. So this is part of that shift. If we are cooperated, we can start using the clever organic fertilizers in this case.
But again, we are in social capital step. Yeah. So it means that we need knowledge, and we need to understand this, and this knowledge and understanding have to motivate us to do this. Otherwise, again, we are back.
Super. Now, Christina, same question. Very simple.
Well, I'm not sure what can be added, really. Like, you explored it quite in depth, and I think we really haven't found a way of how to encourage more of cooperation. I think that this problem has been addressed, especially in recent years, quite a bit, and still, like, there's no clear solution, you know, how to go in that direction. But what I really wanted to touch upon here, we heard today a lot of different solutions, a lot of different things that should be done or could be done. So I think what should be maybe highlighted here, cooperation included, right? Highlighted here, emphasized, is that there's really no one silver bullet, of solving these challenges that we are facing. And I think it's really important to note down all these suggestions and really apply them, together as a suite. So I think that's really the thinking that we should have. And also what should be applied, like this thinking, to the Green Deal itself. So I think sometimes we tend to see it very like black and white, because we see Green Deal, this will like reduce the food production or lead to a reduction in food supply. But at the same time, we should be thinking of what's the rationale behind the Green Deal, why we are talking about this. And really the key goal is our well-being, which depends on climate, depends on biodiversity and the values that it brings through the food system or otherwise. So I think we do need to be aware of these different kind of sides. And so I completely understand and that the food is obviously a necessity, and it's very important that the food systems are maintained and the food is healthy, accessible, and affordable. But at the same time, I do think that we can we do have to look at all these sides and try to combine them, and that's how we really will achieve the I don't know, the better world, if I can say it like this. So yeah, I didn't really answer about cooperation, but I think it's it's kind of the same. So that we do need to employ different strategies, maybe to move towards more cooperation. But since I'm not really an expert in that area, I wouldn't like to elaborate.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes, and of course, we're discussing so many things, but I think there are so much more that we didn't discuss, and they have a role to play, and it's all about discussing that and also making sure that we are not forgetting and taking that into account. But the most important, we can all agree, is the societal shift. And this is where, if we are not changing our mentality, and we're not appreciating and realizing that our planet is at risk, so then there is no point to do anything, because it's impossible to change. So I think the biggest thing is for all of us to understand what is going to be in the future. And I think those extreme weather conditions, and it's really pity to see that every year more severe weather, but for the general society, it kind of starts ringing the bell that, they are appreciating. I remember 10 years ago, the farmers were joking and laughing when we started to discuss the climate change that is happening, and only 10 years passed, and every single farmer knows that climate change is happening, and we really need to work hard to adapt to that. So maybe, Oshri, I'll go to you, and then cooperation and your kind of conclusion remarks.
At the start of our discussion, we spoke about local food, and this is very important, because now we grain growers in Lithuania, we are producing it depends, but about 6-7 million tons of grain in Lithuania, and we are exporters, very big exporters. Lithuania is in fifth or sixth place in the world. We are after Russia, United States, Australia, Canada, maybe Romania, and then France and we. We're exporting 5 million tons per year, every year. And at the same time, like I said, big ships brings to Europe and to Lithuania another kind of grain, soya. We're selling our grain around the world, and we're buying around the world. That we need to change that. We need to consume more local food. But if you go to supermarket today and take our national cake, we call shakotes, Baumkuchen in German. And look at label and ingredients. There is palm oil, not butter, but palm oil in our national cake. So we are talking one thing, but doing another when we are in supermarket and looking only on prices. But if demand for more sustainable, environmental friendly and local food will rise, of course we farmers can bring this food for our people. And cooperation in that case is very important. We need to cooperate to produce some food, I don't know, bread, cakes, pasta, and so, fodder for our animals, and sell here locally at first, and only surplus to export to another part of the world. But first of all, we need demand from our society, demand for more healthy, more safe, more environmental friendly food. Yes. We can bring it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ushis. And this is a very important thing. It's part of the solution, as you say. The proteins, for example, France has even strategy for their own plant protein, and they're hoping in 5 years or something not to import any of their soya, so they're going to depend on their own. And in Lithuania we have peas and other pulses, and we can grow that, and it would be fantastic for crop rotation. But the infrastructure, the factories are missing, and it's simple to solve. And again, part of that is cooperation. So I'm hoping that we all start thinking that. So Vilma, final remarks.
Final remark. With the cooperation, what we will get? We will get responsibility and we will get accountability. This, I think, it's very important in the crisis of values, because when we are transforming society, when we are transforming economic models, so we need agreements. Yeah, because it is a new thing and it is not a very comfortable situation for all of us. So it means that cooperation partnership brings us accountability and responsibility.
Mm-hmm. And now for a final, we already have a question, and I'll read that. Does implementation of a Green Deal creates value for farmers, customers, stakeholders? If so, what kind of value could it be? And Edita is asking that. So we'll start from our friend Andreas in Germany. What do you?
Thank you. The Green Deal will for sure bring benefits to the society. I'm not so sure what the benefits will be for farmers. So apparently there needs to be compensation for any kind of services that the farmers will have to provide to the society for these. That's actually what they will do with this, and so that will be part of the Green Deal in fact, and so much maybe about the benefits very shortly.
Much, and it will be, maybe you want to say something on the conclusion, quick conclusion remark on this.
Yes, conclusionary remarks. We had some very well, at the end we were discussing also about cooperatives and the question of imports and exports, if that is necessary. And there has been well, there is a long debate about that, and in fact I'm not convinced that we should inhibit all kind of trade and do that only if we do not have the capacities for their own production. But on the other hand, it is totally right that it doesn't make sense to transport grains and oils, fats, and proteins around the world. But there has to be, well, the costs are implemented in this system, so the cost efficient product will be shipped. But what is not implemented is the carbon footprint and any other environmental issues associated with that. So that is what is needed, and so we have to adjust the trade to the impacts on the environment, in fact. And well, that that is maybe not a conclusion of to anything regarding the Green Deal, but I'm convinced that we are on the right way with the Green Deal, even though we will still have to struggle to bring that forward.
Thank you. Christina?
Yeah, so talking about the benefits, I think the problem is that they're really, we're looking long term. And so talking with people, it's often very difficult to explain, like why biodiversity, what's the value of biodiversity, or what's the value of, decreasing the carbon emissions and so on. So that complicates this discussion with the consumers, how to ensure that they, push this forward, this agenda. But at the same time, so it was mentioned a lot today here, this shift, the societal shift. So the technical term is transformational change, and that's exactly what it involves, the changes in values, changes in behaviors, and so on. So yeah, so I wanted to mention this, and a very final thought that we really are in this together. So I think we can't really put everything on agriculture and expect that all the solutions will come from there, but agriculture has to be one of the players and contribute its part, as well as be supported in appropriate ways to achieve the goals. So yeah, that's the final point. Thank you.
Very, very good question, very important question. What kind of value could it be for farmers, for example, Green Deal? Like I said, we can produce more with less, but we need shift in our technologies. We need much more attention from our politicians to that. Because until now, we're investing to concrete, roads, metal, and other hard things. But we need more investments to the soft things, smart machinery, robotics, precision farming, science, like I said. We need this kind of shift. We need to change our mind, how we see agriculture in the future. I see that agriculture could be high tech in the future.
Perfect. Thank you. Vilma, final remark.
Yes, I agree with all of you, and yes, it's future high tech and modern agriculture. And of course, we will have this small and medium and big farms, and of course, we will have demand for all of our production. But I think that step by step, but as I said, we need faster development and lower growth. Thank you.
So thank you very much for this brilliant, interesting discussion, Vilma, Christina, Ushris, and Andreas from Germany. So I hope you really enjoy that. And now is the coffee time. So enjoy your coffee. And in 15 minutes, my colleague will be waiting over here with another panel for another round of discussions. Thank you.
and Science Forum, Green Deal, the way improving the well-being of society and business. And now we have second session, and we will have two presentations by Inga Minelgaitė and Jonas Ignatavičius. And after this presentation, we will have second panel discussion regarding special session. So I would like to invite Inga Minelgaitė to present Make Sustainability Stick for Society and Business, the role of social culture, case of Iceland. So you are welcome, Inga.
Discuss with you a little bit, or present, is making sustainability stick for society and business. And I will focus particularly on the role of societal culture, and will try to illustrate my point by a case of Iceland. I know that we are interdisciplinary or even transdisciplinary audience today. So I just wanted to bring us on the same page regarding what sustainability is. Way too often when I enroll into discussions, and it seems like when we talk about sustainability in many countries, we focus on environmental sustainability in particular. But I just wanted to remind us that sustainability consists of so-called three pillars, namely economic, environmental, and social. And so we have three pillars. In Lithuania, I noticed that recently the more focus has shifted towards social pillar. However, noticing the content of messages, I still see that we have a very narrow understanding on what social pillar represents. Sustainability being big enough term, this helps. Just dividing that term into three fields where we could focus our effort, it helps, but it's not enough. We need a more precise framework in order to strategize our actions and contribute to global sustainability agenda. Here, very useful, I find, is one of the tools, one of the frameworks, that is United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, 17 goals that help us to make our effort more focused. And all of these 17 goals represent certain economic pillar or help us to contribute in achieving sustainability in certain pillar. So today I would like to invite you to look at one case in implementing sustainability agenda, namely Iceland. But I would like to mainly to invite you to see whether it sticks. And if not, then why? Because I think that Iceland presents a very interesting case. So Iceland has small population, to be precise, 368,000 residents. But regardless of small size, Iceland has become one of the leading global players in the geothermal industry. One of the examples of greenness. This fact per se has significant implications towards environmental sustainability. However, with this success in this field and the know-how, and by being able to export the know-how in geothermal energy harvesting, Iceland is also contributing to its economic sustainability, while also helping other countries with their environmental sustainability agendas. Another example from different pillar, social sustainability, that is gender equality. United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 5, gender equality, is being very successfully achieved in Iceland. In all Scandinavian countries are doing relatively well in this regard. However, Iceland is a particular case. For probably 10 consecutive years in Global Gender Gap Index, Iceland has topped that list of 156 countries. And it's interesting why. And we could go on and name more indicators from sustainability field that sort of proves or illustrates, helps us to witness Iceland's success in sustainability agenda. But I would like to move from country level to more to the lower level examples, or let's say organizations, and how we are doing there to illustrate Iceland's success with more defined examples. One of them, Þeistareykjavirkjun power plant, and on my right you see a picture where from 2019, which was taken in Merida, Mexico, International Project Management Association is awarding this project, Þeistareykjavirkjun, with the award of excellence. Jury decided that year. Jury was focusing mainly on big mega projects. That means very impactful, very meaningful projects for local societies, and sustainability was the focal point. So Þeistareykjavirkjun project in Iceland receives Excellence Award. And jury emphasized that the stakeholder involvement, responsible utilization of renewable energy resources, and emphasis on safety and environment helped this project to receive the award. Another example, even more down to earth. Company Geosilica in Iceland that was founded by 3 students working on their bachelor thesis. This project developed in very successful company. The main objective of the company is to develop high quality silica healthcare products utilizing wastewater from the geothermal power plants in Iceland, which today is largely unused natural resource. So I gave you 2 examples, but these are not anecdotal evidence of successful initiatives in regard to sustainability in Iceland. Þeistareykjavirkjun had to make some difficult compromises when it decided to include local community to such a degree. It was, I'm talking about stakeholder management. That decision was costly. Geosilica was born not from the wish to produce simply profitable product and to create profitable company, but from the true passion for doing what makes sense, utilizing wastewater. So like hundreds of products in Iceland, Geosilica was strongly driven by the belief. Therefore, my main statement today, in attempt to illustrate how sustainability sticks, is that societal or national culture, if you wish, affects greatly implementation of sustainability agenda and initiatives in particular countries. Based on the few evidences that I provided before, we can agree that Iceland is a success story. Maybe not the true champion, but definitely a success story so far in sustainability agenda. And I would like to pinpoint certain characteristics in Icelandic societal culture to illustrate how certain aspects make sustainability efforts stick sustainably. I teased out 3 societal characteristics that I think contributes greatly for this purpose in Iceland. And these characteristics are resilience, respect for nature, and low power resistance. So first, resilience. I have written quite a bit about this particular characteristic of Icelandic culture in my co-authored book about leadership in Icelandic society. So Iceland and Icelanders have been considered resilient, mainly attributing this characteristic to many centuries of harsh climate and difficult to survive conditions. together with endurance of constant uncertainty. Resilience is bouncing back to the desired state of being after experiencing some outside hit or crisis. And Iceland has bounced many times. While today we praise Iceland for harvesting hydro and geothermal energy, not many know that the shortage of oil and coal triggered this development. In 1980s, Iceland has faced major difficulties due to the shortage of oil and coal. And to just make long story short, today, 90% of Icelandic homes rely on geothermal energy as heating source. Some years later, year 2008, financial crisis in Iceland looked like total catastrophe with no return. And yet solution was found with emergence of tourism industry. How does that relate to sustainability? Well, sustainability requires long-term commitment. Commitment to choose sustainability value over other value, even in times of crisis, even in times of unexpected turmoils or additional costs. It is declaration that even in hard times, we will stay committed to the course. One cannot make such a commitment without committing to sustainability, without resilience. Second characteristic, Icelandic nature is majestic and powerful. The climate can be challenging, even with today's technologies, with all the heated houses. But it was much more difficult to survive in the old days. So harsh winters, earthquakes, hurricanes, eruptions. This environment is a constant reminder for a human being how powerless humans are against the force of nature. This uncontrollable force, nature, therefore, is respected. Furthermore, nature has been for many years provider for Icelanders and means for survival. Today, nature is admired for its beauty and is cherished, and it's a source of joy. Icelanders were amongst the Europeans spending the biggest amount of time outdoors, and COVID situation actually even increased this number. But you might ask, again, how does that relate to sustainability? In Iceland, it takes little convincing, little effort that preserving nature is important. Environmental sustainability. Therefore, this kind of sustainability is at the heart of many projects, business ideas today in Icelandic society. Third characteristic that I find extremely important in making sustainability stick in Icelandic society is certain cultural dimension, namely low power distance. In short, this dimension describes how people in society view hierarchy and power concentration in the hands of a few. With a very low score of 30, in Iceland, hierarchy is established for convenience. In leading, superiors are expected to consult employees. What does that mean in organizational settings? That means that stakeholder involvement is a must in Iceland. Everyone's opinions need to be heard and consensus reached. If you remember, Reykjavík power plant was particularly praised by the jury for stakeholder involvement. Low power distance is answer why it happened. This is particularly important dimension in implementing sustainability agenda. Low hierarchy and consensus means that people will be truly dedicated to the cause. The sustainability initiatives will not be just for the eyes or for the report or for Excel sheets. It will be done because one believes, and it will be done even if no one will be watching, with true integrity. So my proposed thesis is that we should find dimensions of societal culture that correspond to dimensions of sustainability and enhance them. In the end of the day, if the goal is sustainable action on individual, organization, and country level, then sustainability needs to become value, societal value. Values are deep beliefs that people have and that are primary drivers of our behavior. Imagine a person who is doing something just because he or she was told to do so, or just with a short-term incentive. And then imagine a person pursuing some agenda because he or she truly believes that it matters. I'm sure we all agree that much more sustainable behavior on individual, organizational, and societal level can be achieved by believing strongly that sustainable actions are the right actions. How to achieve it? How? How to make sustainability a societal value? First of all, one should give enough time in order to achieve desired results. But secondly, on more pragmatic level, I propose the following view. Sustainability as a value consists of certain particles, certain dimensions. Like we can even see United Nations as SDGs as those particles, those dimensions. On the other hand, each national culture, each societal culture has its own dimensions, has its own particles. So finding each particle that corresponds on one side to another, and like I mentioned, enhancing it, can give long-term results. For example, United Nations SDG number 5, namely gender equality, corresponds very and correlates very well with Icelandic societal dimension, femininity, inclusion, equality. So by finding these connections and enhancing them will help us to enact sustainability agenda more effortlessly, because that certain particle of sustainability taps into already existing belief that society already has. In the end of the day, the goal is integrity in sustainability agenda. That means doing it when nobody's watching. The goal is the individuals, companies, and states would do the right thing, sustainable thing. In order to achieve this state of being, sustainability needs to find place within the value system and become natural part of it. From leadership research, we know that incentives work, but when people act on belief, it works even better, longer, and with less effort. This was my main message that I wanted to send to you today. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor. And now we would like to invite Jonas Ignatavičius. He will make presentation, The Role of Water in Agricultural Spray Solutions.
Čia automatiškai įsijungs, ar reikia pašėlti? Hello, I'm Jonas Ignatavičius, today representing company Nando Labs, one of the Nando Group's company, and I will talk mostly about the role of water in agricultural spray solutions, but my presentation will be broader and will reflect previous presentations about Green Deal, sustainability, and what are the best options, how we can commit new regulations and new requirements, also keeping farmers in the same revenue stream and do not creating problems to our economy. So what is Nando? A couple of words about our company. So we are developers of technologies and products, and our two main streams of products and product lines are adjuvants or tank mix adjuvants, which is kind of the core thing of the presentation of my speech today. So these are things which improves the efficiency of pesticides and other active ingredients applied in agriculture. And another product stream is biological products. So these are so-called probiotics, natural microorganism-based products applied on the soil or on the seed, improving soil conditions. So, and the main thing is that, for example, these biological products are ecological friendly and have eco certificates, but our target market, 90% of our clients are industrial farming, typical conventional farming, and our business strategy is to orientate more and more to them, because our solutions really help them to decrease the usage of pesticides and mineral fertilizers and keep the same yields and also increasing the quality of the soil. So our primary targets are conventional farming, and I cannot agree more than with what Aušrys in previous presentation said, that exactly conventional farming and technologies in conventional farming are the key thing for implementing the aims of Green Deal, not ecological farming on its own. So we have about 8,000 farmers already using our products and more than 30 product names. And now let's start to talk about adjuvants, and let's understand a bit what it is and why it's important. When we talk about spraying tank, which goes over the field, and spraying the pesticides, the fertilizers, we have to understand that only up to 3% of all that solution is active ingredient. Either it's fertilizer or pesticide, and about 97% of all solution is water. So basically it's water, the main thing, which actually makes the difference. And a lot of depends on water. Wetting. If you are applying herbicide, you really want that your active ingredient would be absorbed by the soil. So wetting property is very important. Penetration. If you apply your pesticide on a hydrophobic surface, you want that penetration would work efficiently enough, that your active ingredient would go into the leaf. You want pH to be regulated, because most of insecticides in alkaline water gets about 50% of active ingredient reduction due to deconstruction of molecular structure in half an hour. So if you do not regulate pH, your insecticide in half an hour during your spraying is half as efficient as it should be. You have rain resistance. If rain comes, you have to prevent it from being washed out. You have spreading, so you have to ensure that the active ingredient is spread enough on the leaf surface and or on the soil that it's covered evenly. Surface tension, so you have to destruct bubbles, that instead of bubbles which drops down from the leaf, you have equally distributed active ingredient on the leaves. And softness, and so on and so far, stickiness, compatibility. So you want to ensure that your solution, and especially when you put a lot of solutions, don't go into sediments. So all of these things are very important. And we are in a situation which Green Deal requires for us to reduce pesticide usage about 20–30%, but when we think from around 1990s, already more than 50% of all active ingredients are already banned, or available norms per hectare are reduced twice. So already farmers cannot simply put enormous amount of chemicals which are amazingly toxic and be sure that they will work and your insects or fungus pathogens are destroyed. Already now the limitations are so high that you really have to be very clever with your pesticides to match the required maximum quantities per hectare, allowed active ingredients, and still have results. And due to all of these reasons, your pesticides still cannot work purely and do not give you effect. So all of these things can be solved by including some adjuvants, tank mix adjuvants, which solve one or another property of your solution and ensures that with minimum dosage of pesticide you still get the best result, either weed control or pest control or fungus control. And the new topic which we are developing with this university for already a couple of years is wind drift reduction. So it's kind of the new topic which is talked really not a lot. And I will tell you a bit more about wind drift and why it's a problem. So when we talk about wind drift, firstly, let's define the definition of it. So we say that all active ingredient which is applied due to the wind over 85 centimeters from your targeted area is wind drift caused. So what you target on the area and everything what is over your area can be called as wind drift caused material or wasted material. So what problems does it do? So loss of active substance can cause you once again the pure effectiveness of your pesticides, because on some particular area your active substances amount can be less, on another area higher, so you can create stress on one side of your field and do not have a pesticide effect on another side of your field. Uneven spray, overlap, once again, contamination of non-nearby fields, especially ecological farming. So when you go nearby the ecological farming, and drift can cause up to 100 meters of water, small water bubbles drift to neighbor fields, and it can cause quite a big damage. And I know that Dotnuva is now researching how it can affect ecological farming from glyphosate usage. For example, when glyphosate is applied on conventional farming, what buffer zone should be required next to the ecological farming to ensure that ecological products do not get glyphosate contamination. And of course, pollution of water bodies. So what are control mechanisms overall of this problem? So firstly, we have to understand what factors cause the drift. So it's wind speed, wind direction. Of course, wind speed is the main factor, but also air temperature, humidity, rain. All these factors can increase or reduce the wind drift problem. Then you have drift buffer zones, which are quite more familiar thing to do in other countries. In Lithuania, not so much. So usually these are the lines of tree separating different fields. So, for example, ecological farming and conventional farming is separated by the line of trees. And then are main methods of control of drift. So sprayer technology, travel speed, the active ingredient, what you use, etc. And one of the main reasons why you have drift is, of course, small drops. So the smaller drop you have, about 150 microns, the larger drift you have. Of course, you have better coverage, because when you spray with the really small drops, you have really good coverage and small bounce from the leaf, and you have to apply much less water. So farmers, especially in, for example, Ukraine, where we work a lot, these called fog sprayings, when we apply only 50 or less liters of water per hectare, they usually go with very, very small amount of water and kind of fog spraying. Then drops are really, really small. But in this case, you have amazing amount of drift, then more than 50% of your solution can be drifted away. And when you have another spectrum, when you have really big drops, you have much worse cover. Drops jump from the leaves, and you have to use much more water. In some applications it's required, but usually a bigger amount of water means that your active ingredient also is washed away from the leaf, and your investment is much higher, because the more water you use, the less area you cover, the more sprayings you have to do. But drift is reduced with higher drops. So our aim is go somewhere in the middle with the size of the drop, but still have as little drift as possible. So as from the farmer perspective, you can do to reach this goal, you can do a couple of things. You can use injector nozzle, so modern nozzle. You can use the so-called technology when the last nozzle is blocking the stream of the spraying, so it goes kind of down and blocks all the spraying. You can very precisely select the combination of your products in your spraying. For example, some organic fertilizers also reduce the drift. Or you can use anti-drift products, which we are developing. And how do we develop that? So this is created in this university. Actually, now at the moment, so this is the wind funnel. So wind funnel actually helps to investigate different recipes and to understand how different recipes and combination formulations actually works reducing the drift. So the wind is flown through entire wind funnel, and in the middle, like in the beginning of it, there is the nozzle, the spraying machine, and we can then count how much solution in different stages of the area was collected due to the different stream of the wind. So at the moment we are building twice as bigger one, helps to European Union funding and cooperation between our company and university. So university will be able to do even more and even more intense research in this wind funnel. So what we did, like our recent research, we took a couple of different nozzles, still and injector nozzles, and we did the trial. So I'll go straight to results. So this is with one nozzle, with another nozzle. So it shows how in different wind, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 meters per second, what amount of solution was drifted away. Away, I mean 85 centimeters and more from your targeted area. So as you can see, the biggest columns are with water, and the smallest columns are with this particular composition. And the same goes with still nozzle. And these are overall results. So just to understand how impactful it was, you can compare different wind, for example, 4 meters and 6 meters, and compare columns. So, for example, comparing still nozzles, these two, 6 meters per second gave you the same amount of solution drifted away as with 4 meters per second. So it basically eliminated 2 meters per second wind effect. It sounds not a lot, but it's actually quite a lot, because pesticides producers, usually quite a lot of them, in their instructions require to apply their product in conditions which do not exceed 3 meters per second wind speed. Spring in Lithuania, average wind speed is about 5-6 meters per second, or sometimes even more. So these 2 marginal meters per second speed is critically important for farmers still be in kind of spectrum of in the range of available wind speed which is provided by pesticide producers. In Europe, it's not well known, and there is no standards to evaluate the efficiency of these products. But for example, in the United States, there are even kind of categories of drift reduction products, stars, which shows how impactful in wind reduction these products are. So hopefully something like that will come to Europe as well. So out of all of that, the product came out, which is already presented to the market. Also in Lithuania, this year it was presented for the first time. The product name is Targetum. And conclusions of all these trials and this product is, as I said, the main conclusion is 2 meters per second effect reduction. And when we talk about overall amounts, we can see that using Targetum, 35 less solution is deployed on not targeted area, or 8% of total solution. So it's almost 10% decrease of wasted solution which goes away from your target area. And when you think like 10-20% of your solution out of target area is quite a lot, especially when it's nearby water body or ecological farming. So thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Jonas, for your presentation. And now we can continue and have second panel discussion regarding special session. And I would like to invite Rasa Tomashevičiūtė. She is soil expert at Ministry of Agriculture and Working Group of Climate Change Mitigation and Adaptation leader and Climate Pact ambassador, circular economy consultant, and etc. So you are welcome, Rasa.
Let me introduce. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are asking what is the role of business initiatives to address European Green Deal challenges. Now, the Green Deal is central to the European Commission's plans to bounce back better and recover from the current pandemic. It also has to deliver on climate change goals. So we are going to talk about how innovation and disruptive technologies in agriculture may be able to facilitate that. As well, we will have a Q&A possibility, so feel free to ask questions of our speakers. The girls will bring you up a microphone, so don't hesitate to raise your hand. Or you can also ask questions on YouTube. So let me introduce our panelists. It's Vice Minister of the Economy and Innovation of the Republic of Lithuania, Ieva Valeškaitė. Do we have her already? Hello. Hello. The Environment of the Republic of Lithuania, Marius Čepulis. Some applauses, I can hear them. Thanks. And Jonas Ignatavičius from Nando Labs. Some applauses. And Kristina Šermukšnytė Alešiūnienė from Agri-Food Lithuania DHA. Okay, it's okay, nice. Thank you all so much for joining us. We appreciate you taking the time this evening, and I hope that we will have a lively discussion. So, Ieva, let me start with you, because you're far away from Kaunas right now. And I want to ask you to give us your opening statement and tell us a little bit from the Ministry of Economy and Innovation perspective, what it is on this area of European Green Deal challenges.
Thank you very much, Rasa, and I'm so terribly sorry not to join you live in the panel, especially now when I see myself on such a big screen hanging in there live. So thank you very much for the event. I'd like to start by saying that I really enjoyed the presentations by our panelists and their amazing practical solutions to our everyday problems. However, we still have lots of those. And you mentioned like challenges that we are facing today that you would like to talk. So I think that we cannot begin the discussion without mentioning COVID-19 that Ministry of Economy and Innovation is still coping with. The pandemic continues to be a significant threat to our economy as a whole. It has disrupted processes across all segments of the agri-food industry. These disruptions have changed the rules of the game, and farmers, of course, had to come in direct contact with consumers more frequently. Retailers were forced to quickly improve their online ordering capacity, and consumers became more considerate of the nutritional value of their food purchase. Such dynamic developments, they create opportunity for growth and innovation with the agri-food industry. For example, the surge of e-commerce. We have asked businesses if they ever plan to go back to direct physical trade, and 1/5 of those who have established their online presence said they are planning to stay this way and close their shops and only trade online. So the change is tremendous, and we in the Ministry of Economy here are to help to adapt to some changes that are happening today and those that will be happening in the future. Thank you very much.
Ieva, it was really short and sweet. So, Marius, let me turn to you. Can you give us the perspective and explain what lives by Ministry of Environment, and maybe it's similar, like from Ministry of Environment of Economy and Innovations?
Well, first of all, thank you, and hi everybody. Of course, all business initiatives are very welcome, especially those that helps us to achieve Green Deal targets. But as we know, these targets are very ambitious in European Union, of course in Lithuania, and for instance, we have to achieve 25% of organic farming, or left 10% of farmland to the natural landscape elements. And I'm not talking about the preserving territories 30% and so on, so on, so on. So, and I think that the most challenging thing here is mindset of the people, because I think they don't believe in Green Deal till now. Let's say farmers, if we have we will force them to do some things. They think that they can come to us, block the roads, throw some manure at Ministry of Environment or Agriculture, and that's all. But there is no step back. I mean, these changes are inevitable, and we will have to meet them. So the companies that will do the first steps, they will profit the most. That's the most important thing. And of course, government has to help them.
Good to hear that, because yeah, it's a good point to talk about social innovations actually, but we'll talk about this a bit later. Thank you, Marius. So Jonas, you made a really nice presentation. It was about innovative technologies, and maybe you can move a bit this conversation and just tell us what is your perspective for Nando Labs' perspective for challenges which is facing up with Green Deal implementation?
So quite a broad question. I believe there are basically three main areas where everything has to develop in terms of technological breakthrough to achieve these goals, and I'll just say a couple of samples how I believe personally it can work out. So first area is what I presented and what company as ours and familiar companies do. So we basically make things which either substitute the fertilizers or pesticides as microbial products or biofungicides or biostimulants. So we basically changes the need of apply one usually toxic and environmentally unfriendly product with another one more environmentally friendly. Or, as I talked about adjuvants, it can be the reduction of active ingredients. So it's one direction when you change the agrotechnology itself. Another direction is precise agriculture, which was mentioned quite many times before in this panel. So it's precise trials and data-based application of both fertilizers and pesticides. When scanners do the field scan and either simultaneously or afterwards, only necessary amount of fertilizer and pesticide is applied on specific plots of the area. So it can reduce the usage of fertilizers quite significantly. And the third area, which I believe Europe is quite significantly behind, is drone technologies. I have experience from our partners in Ukraine, which quite intensively converting their conventional spraying to drones usage. And I know that this university is quite in deep tech already with this technology and do a lot of trials already. But European Union is actually do not do any actions to allow these things, and any drone is considered the same thing as a plane because it's aerial flying machine, and it's considered to be the same as a plane, even though drones can apply the same amount of active ingredient on the field. For example, comparing with regular sprayer, which goes with 200 liters, drone can do the same with 15 liters because it can go almost like 10 centimeters from the field because of the flying, like the air pressure is pressed down to the field, so you do not have drift problems, you have perfect coverage, and even you do not have the lines for your sprayer to go, and you have a possibility to spray active ingredients through the entire vegetation cycle, because, for example, in corns, with sprayer machine you are not able to go on the last months of vegetation. So a lot of benefits can be caused by this technology alone. But Euro bureaucracy does not understand that. And the same goes by the way with biological products. Next year, June, July, the new fertilizers regulation directive comes into the force. I'm talking like for last year or two with all the ministers, all the decision makers, agencies about the implementation of that. And it's quite not clear what will happen, because on the current text, as it's written now, 99% of biological products would be banned from the market, and microbial products would be banned from the market, because all of them would be from that day on considered as pesticides, and would require the pesticide registration, which usually takes 5 years and costs like €1 million per active ingredient. So we talk about Green Deal, how important is that, how we want to achieve results, but Euro bureaucracy on every single step tries to stop industries and technologies from doing the right steps. So this somehow has to go hand by hand to really achieve these goals.
Okay, thank you, Janis. It was a really nice point, actually, like one of the pessimistic points. But I want to finish up our circle up, because I want to see like a holistic picture and to introduce whole holistic picture. Christina, I hope you are going to tell us about stakeholder ecosystem, because no one mentioned that before, and collaboration in terms of agriculture and R&D as well. Maybe you can talk a bit about bureaucracy if we were talking about research and innovations. And what is the biggest problems and challenges which stakeholders faces?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me today here on this panel. It's an honor to participate together with the representatives from government and with the highest experts and minds, and hopefully together we can achieve some kind of solution steps so we can take it further. Well, first of all, I would like to start just from my personal experience. Well, I come from a very farm family, I should say. From little days, when I was little, I used to know how to milk cow, and I still know. I can do it right away, and I even know how to bake shakotis, our national cake. I have actually special oven where you can bake it by hand. And I would like just quickly go back to the previous panelists where we talked that we have ingredients of the palm oil in our national shakotis. And I can tell you for sure, you can bake shakotis at home with your local national grown food. Do not add any additives. I did it one time last Christmas. I baked it, and it was standing on my table until Easter. It was good. You can eat it. It was a little bit of dry, but that means you can really do it with your local food. Another little example, I know for sure there is at least one farmer in Lithuania who makes very nice noodles, lasagna, pasta, but he imports flour to Lithuania from Italy because he says it's better. I don't know. I'm not recipe expert, but I'm sure we can make it here also, something similar. And as you heard, we are top exporter for the grain among like huge players like United States and then China and Ukraine, and wow, that's bad. So to tell you the truth, I've heard this saying during COVID time that food should be our national security matter. So I would suggest maybe we can just keep it not only during pandemics, but maybe we can make it as a strategy. Food as our national security matter, and continue from that. So this is my first point, first suggestion. The second one, where the panelists have finished, they said, well, agri-food sector, after all, it's not something futuristic, it could be high-tech. So that's where my organization steps in. digital innovation hubs were created by European Commission, not just as any organization. They were created in order to become the main tool for the twin transition. That means to totally transform different sectors, including agri-food sector. Everybody knows, well, maybe not everybody, but now you're gonna hear, agri-food sector, that's the least digitalized and the most conservative sector in the world. So what we are talking about lots of different steps that needs to be taken in order if we want to really transform. We can be talking about little steps, but first of all, I think we need to have a big picture. Where we're going, what kind of steps we're going to be taking. And Agri-Food Lithuania as a digital innovation hub, we're working in 4 directions. Well, first of all, we try to introduce for the market test before invest. That's the strategy or services, for example, for farmers to show or for the food manufacturing companies to show real use cases where you can test, see, before investing big money, how technology works, what's the value. This is, I think, the biggest thing is to show the value. What is the added value of the technology when we talk about that? Because without that, there is no point to talk about digitalization or pushing technology just because somebody said. And I have to agree, European Commission's Green Deal's objectives are very, very huge. And we have to admit to achieve such goals that are being set up, we need very clear plans, where we're going and what actions we're going to be taking. So another part is we are creating ecosystem, as you, Rasa said, uniting together academia, stakeholders, big enterprises, SMEs, technology providers, farmers. So we work actually with the whole food chain. Food value chain. So we try to connect every player, every stakeholder from primary production, food manufacturing, going to HoReCa sector, going to final consumer. So that's also very important that consumers also feel that they are part of the system, that they need to understand about the value of the quality food and etc. On the other part, we not only create technologies here in Lithuania, and by the way, we have FinTech, we have GovTech. I think we for sure can have Agri-Tech because we have so many good talents, so many good SMEs working, and as we see example today, right, sitting right next to me, and we are very capable of showing the value of different technologies. And of course, as a digital innovation hub, we bring the knowledge from the other players in EU and also cross-sectorial. This is very important because other sectors, they already are in front of agriculture. So there are many technologies already implemented. So why to invent the wheel? We need to turn to the cross-sectorial projects and see what kind of knowledge could be exchanged. And final step, but not the least step, that's startups ecosystem. So we're helping to find the fundings for the startups. We encourage new startups to create, come to us, and together bring the value to the agri-food sector.
Okay, thank you very much. It was a really nice statement. I really like that, and it probably holds up like a lot of information which we need today. And okay, so we talk like a lot of about innovations and some kind of ecosystem of startups, but by the way, you still have to get some money to push those things. So, Eva, let me ask you, on a very broad scale, when we're talking about investing in environmental friendly technologies, and especially a food sector or a whole food chain, aren't we really talking about like some kind, not only technological innovation, but also about different business models? Can you see that point?
Sure, I'll start from afar, if you let me. First of all, innovation has been mentioned a few times here today. Being innovative is a must for companies, of course, to create a competitive advantage, producing things that nobody else can, doing things better than everyone else, or introducing superior and cheaper and faster services. Business organizations, they have to enable the innovation to create long-term competition by, of course, gathering knowledge and skills in technology, using the experience in creativity and development, or introducing new ideas in the form of products or business models. Therefore, in order to help businesses achieving all these facts, and in order to have a clear and integrated system for the promotion of innovation, to help businesses scale, which is very important, and to foster the export of innovative products, Ministry of Economy and Innovation launched the Innovation Reform and Creation of Innovation Agency. Regarding our plans, as Ministry of Economy and Innovation, we are currently discussing what measures, financial mechanisms, should be crafted and implemented. Green Deal is a horizontal theme, and we are responsible for 3 areas of smart specialization. That means IRT, smart industry, and biotech. However, we urge other ministries and institutions to help foster innovations within their respective sectors, and we are closely working with them towards this goal. I finally talked about the role of governments, but as the previous speaker mentioned, we also see changing consumption patterns. And pandemics will definitely raise health awareness even more. In the past few years, consumers have paid more attention to healthy ratios or amounts of food. They are concerned with freshness, cleanliness, and production standards in addition to convenience, comfort, and taste. Many producers are more interested in exploring this aspect of market seriously, and they are preparing to develop ready-to-eat, healthy, or frozen food in boxes or smart meals. Food products in the smart meal group, including smart diet, smart health food, smart veggies, and smart soup, are being introduced to respond to the needs of those consumers who place more and more importance on healthy food. We believe this market has a huge growth potential, and we are looking to see what the future brings. But my answer to your question is as regarding business models and overarching ambitions is twofold. First of all, businesses are responding to government's plans and initiatives. They are dynamic and adaptable. We see that thinking about such incentives, of course, Ministry of Agriculture could answer to this question in more detail. But Lithuanian plans to reform the agricultural sector and food production system focuses on following key areas. So number 1 is transformation of the food system from intensive to ecological. Second is development of energy production from renewable sources. And finally, increase of energy efficiency in the agricultural sector. Food system covers all the areas of food chain. So it means food production, processing, storage, and distribution, marketing factors, of course, trade and consumption. In order to call the food system sustainable, as you all know, all these chain links are essential to be sustainable. They must be. Agri-food systems need to change and become more efficient in order to use resources rationally and produce more sustainably. And sustainable management of water resources is a key element of sustainable agri-food systems. This also has been mentioned with practical solutions of this problem. On the other hand, cultural shifts, they do require time. And one financial perspective is not enough. In the long run, the final say is that of the consumers, who already, as I mentioned, want more food to be fresh, less processed, and sustainably produced. Accordingly, I believe businesses focus their activities and business models towards this direction. And that is a message of hope. Thanks.
Thank you, Yeva. We are talking about consumers, about healthy food, about less of pesticides. Can we push our discussion more into that side? So, Marius, you didn't talk a lot today. So, can I ask you, like, do we have some kind of a speed for healthy food and in terms of achieving our chemicals reduction targets? For example, pesticides, it's like greener targets that we have to reach, and the consumers, they already want to get a healthy food. So basically, what do you think, how fast we can reach and this chemical reducing targets?
Just now.
A lot of questions, you know, like at once, because like I heard like a lot of things. It's crazy.
Okay, thank you for the questions. And yeah, first of all, if we will talk about food, we have enough food and there is no problem to produce it. Yes, we have enough, we're exporting a lot, and actually we are throwing a lot, like 30% of it. So this is not a problem to produce food. The problem is to produce healthy food and ecologically, I mean, environmentally friendly food. That's the most important thing. And for this, of course, again, we have European Union targets like pesticides minus 50%. Maybe that's why we are doing these things, not helping you and us also, and to reduce fertilizers 20%. And in Lithuania, I think we have target 15% till in 9 years already. So, and if you talk about green gases in agriculture sector, we have to reduce it in 9 years, like 11%. So it's quite a lot. I'm not talking about that in 30 years we have to be a climate neutral country. Yeah, so what we can do actually in agriculture sector. So in opinion of Ministry of Environment, maybe first one would be to preserve natural meadows and natural wetlands, because these ecosystems could be more useful, I mean, and give more money and absorbs more carbon dioxide when you could use for the crops. And then we can use animal manure to make biogases. I mean, we have like goals to produce like 50%, I think, but we're doing quite a little bit. But there is companies that already have plans just to use these biogases and without any fossil fuels, and here in Lithuania. So I think it's doable. And another thing is what we can do. It's non-till farming. I think one of the most important things, and in this kind of farming, less you will use less fuel, you will use less, of course you will release less carbon dioxide, you will use less fertilizers, and the soil erosion will be not so big. So I think these 3 goals that could make us our food a little bit healthier.
Okay, and like critical question, how fast will we reach all these goals from a perspective of Ministry of Environment?
And yeah, we have to go again to the first question. It's the mindset of the people. When everybody will understand that we have to do it and do it now.
Okay, thank you. So I heard today that we had a presentation in the morning session from Dr. Christian Hage. So basically it's about pesticides, and you have some kind of new research alliance. Maybe you can introduce a bit about this alliance for us, because you have some interesting plans.
Because of shortage of microphone, I've been asked to come here. So, yeah, the Research Alliance is is gathering 34 research institutes in Europe and more than 20 countries being involved. It has been set more or less by anticipation to the Green Deal. The objective of this Research Alliance is we put the long-term objective of zero pesticide not as a prescriptive objective, but because it forces all the research organizations to explore all the possibilities. And in fact, this is something that is always very, not intriguing, but the tension we have between research policymakers and consumers, all the stakeholders. The stakeholders have to be adapted to the constraint today, and they have to be still alive tomorrow. Research, the key objective of research is to build long-term vision. Otherwise, we are doing part of the job, but not all the job. And long-term vision is the basis for innovation, but is the basis first to explore what is not known. And regarding the pesticide issue, in fact, the question is, what are the research frontiers? And it's because we are going to identify research frontiers that we will have AgTech, all this tech. But we must first know where we are going. And in fact, regarding the pesticide issue, there are, on the biotechnical side, there are 3 domains that are really of high potential. One is in genetics. The fact that we have genome editing as becoming accessible is really offering new opportunities. So for the Commission is opening a new possibility there. For the society is really full of doubts, especially because they are making think that genome editing is the same as GMOs, and GMOs was, let's say, a failure worldwide for 2 reasons, mainly because it didn't solve a great deal of things, and because there was no share of the added value. So when we think about genome editing, we have to analyze where we are going. And it's again a question, I like your point of mindset, is where we go, and all the society must have the same mindset. What is the social contract regarding where we are going? So what are the traits we are going to modify? And we must pay a huge attention to the diversity of things we are going to use. Because if we, for instance, concentrate all the genome editing for maize and wheat, in fact, it is fully counterproductive, because we are going to concentrate to simplify, and we will just increase the problems. And in the previous roundtable, there was one thing that was very important, was said, in fact, we must answer much more to the local situation. And in fact, this is a source of tension. Research, big companies, we need generic things that are operating everywhere. And at the same time, they must be effective here and not here. It doesn't go together. So we need things where we can cover a huge diversity. So this is the first research frontier. The second, to my mind, which is of a tremendous potential, is the discovery of the microbiome. We are all specialists today of our own microbiome. The first paper related to that is 2009. So it's just 12 years ago. Beforehand, we didn't know anything about the effect of this strange universe. Now we are discovering that it is a tremendous potential. We are, at the moment, just describing what it is. We are not yet in a possibility to explore what it can provide. For crop protection, but also for crop fertilization, no doubt that is tremendous potential. And therefore, AgTech, there will be a tremendous range of possibility. The third thing is, and all these aspects simply show that we have a very reduced way of understanding of our environment, is one of our difficulty for pesticide is managing the insects. We are discovering why the insects are traveling somewhere and how they are driving, or they are driving where they are going. Sexual confusion has been used for years, but in a very limited way. Just a few species are controlled this way. Now we are discovering why an insect is going on a crop and not on the next one, simply because it smells it. So in fact, an insect is traveling in another scape. And once you know the volatile organic compound they are susceptible to, and the cocktail, then you can start addressing many, many interesting features. You can either kill them, or you can just reduce the pressure. just by blurring the other scape. If for an aphid that is going on wheat, if the wheat has the smell of a rapeseed, they will not go there. If you mix things, they will not go there. And if they are not going there, they will not you will not have an outburst of things. But they will not be killed, so all the regulation change will still be valid. So these are three main domains. An extra one that was introduced is everything related to digital side. In fact, digital side, you can take it two ways. I gave a conference in Germany last week, and in fact, you can take precision farming as a soft, so you do exactly the same as today with more precision. In fact, agriculture, since the very beginning, a few millenniums ago, they have always tried to be as precise as possible. Unprecision farming does not exist. So it's simply because today we capture a little bit more information and we are able to adapt. But what is the next step? The next step to me is digital agroecology. Is in fact how digital will make new conception of production system possible. As how by capturing more data, how by combining data and machine, you will just transform the whole chain. Just two examples of that, one on pesticide, one on something completely different. On pesticide and herbicide, for instance, growing sugar beet is a headache because you must apply at least 5 full-rate herbicide a year. Because sugar beet is very, very uncompetitive against the wheat. A Danish small Danish startup developed a robot. The same robot is drilling and weeding, mechanically weeding. But when he's drilling, when the machine is drilling, he knows exactly the place, the location of every seed. And then he's weeding between the rows, this is very easy, and between the seeds on the row. And then by doing this, you reduce the area to be sprayed by 98%. So only 2% are left. But when you do this, in fact, you change the way you analyze things. Because instead of first drilling and then moving to the next and to the next, there you offer completely new possibilities. Another example that I like very much is the virtual fencing that has been explored in and developed first in Australia, and now it is used in Ireland. In fact, if you have animals that are grazing, it's better to if you change them from one paddock to the other every day. So you have to move the sticks, and this is impossible to do. And in fact, they have created a small necklace around the leg of the cow. And if they change the fence on the screen of a computer, in fact, the animal, they will not receive the same very small electric shock. And they know where they are allowed to go, and they know where they are not allowed to go. You will say, this is a question of animal welfare. But the Australian, and this is what I liked, they show that for an animal, it was far less stressful than having a dog, for instance, barking around. And in fact, again, we have to be very, very creative. So, excuse me, I'm a bit too long, but I wanted to come back to one point, as in two small points. The first is, because your session is about Green Deal. Marius, you said, there is no step back. I fully agree with you, but no step back for today. The question is for the next generation. If we do not do anything regarding biodiversity, regarding water quality, regarding climate change, in 2100, most of Europe is simply not compatible with any agriculture. And so this is the point. In fact, it's not for us today, it's for the next generation. So I think this is one way of sharing the same mindset, because we have a responsibility. And the second, which is really for me a question of debate, and Jonas, you mentioned that, if we fine-tune the existing system, are we able to meet the Green Deal objective? And in fact, this is at the very heart of the point here. I have the feeling that it is not, because if you would take every of the 3 or 4 main goals of the Green Deal, maybe you could get there. The problem is to combine all of those. And I think there is an outstanding role of such a community like this, like here, to build together a common vision of what is the possibility to reach the goal. And again, not one solution fits all, but one solution per area. And as Christina mentioned, we must do this with the farmers, with the consumers, with all the supply chain in between. So it's a very challenging but very exciting objective that we have in front of us today.
Okay, thank you so much, Christian. It was an amazing speech, actually, and a really good point, like how to keep up our soil healthy for next generation, just not to lose competitiveness. We're doing this not just because we want to do this, because we must to do this. Our technological things and so on. So basically, Jonas, can you react like a bit about that technological things, comparings, like with biological? Because
I cannot agree more with everything what was said here in front of us. Basically, these things, what was just presented, will be in the focus of these type of conferences, discussions, and even mass media, like in 5-10 years. And even if now, for example, genomics and mRNA type of things, what we do with vaccines, if we similar things with genetic manipulation, not with genetic modified products, but with some afterwards products which helps plants to react to the environment, protecting themselves from insects, from diseases, but not changing their genetical structure and code, is the key future. And this what was just presented will be the thing to discuss, and like I'm pretty sure in 5-10 years. And biotech in general will be our new big revolution. As IT was like started and was like 10-20 years ago and still ongoing, biotech revolution just starting, and we see that all around us. If most of the drugs and medicine is already produced by by biological way, a lot of cleaning chemicals are being replaced with enzymes. Our industry is being captured by biotech. Only polymers left, and other more in volumes bigger products, which has to be still replaced, and we will completely get out of dependence to the fossil fuel, because almost all materials, basic commodities, raw materials can be replaced by biotech engineering. And this is absolutely the future, which also has to be fought by government, because Europe can get out of this game, especially as USA with the Biden plan decided to build enormous amount of fermenting capacity in the United States for upcoming years with the infrastructure plan, just to give kind of the roads for the like 50-60 years ago, the roads were built for automotive industry, the fast internet cables were built for IT industry. Now fermentators are built for biotech revolution and this industry. And this is the key thing to understand for policymaker, for business. And I'm glad that we talk about these things today.
It's pretty sad that our Vice Minister, Yeva, should left us. But it's a really good point, actually. Like we should invest in biotech because right now we have like a very first moment when we have to do this, because it's a time when we have to start to do this. And Marius, you had a question for?
Yeah, you were talking about some technology which I was reading about. It's new breeding technology. I think it's called like this, and it's. I think in US legislation is called, I mean, the same as GMO, but it's not. It's targeting mutations, special, but not transgenesis. So are these technologies, maybe you know, are these technologies here in Lithuania, or already they are?
I'm for sure not the expert in this area, just broad understanding. We are in. With our biological products, what we present, we are, in terms of science, we are kind of first graders. Still, we are in front lines of innovation. Like, we simply multiply the microbes which were selected in the salt and showed quite good properties of activity, and we simply multiply them in some more high-tech fashion, stabilize them and formulate into the final products. But it's still first grade comparing with genomic science, what previous presenter told us, and I really do not want to speculate about that because I'm not a specialist in this area.
Okay, it was like about high tech and genomics and so on. Maybe we can talk, because I heard like a lot of things about bioeconomy and how we have to change Europe because we want to keep our countries competitive. And what do you think, Christina? Maybe can you react a bit about how, for example, your company can, your hub, it's hub, how it can provide a help to keep this bioeconomy on track?
Okay, I'll try. Thank you for the question. Well, first of all, when we talk about such ambitious Green Deal goals and how to reach them, we need to remember there was a very good saying on the last panel by Christina, advisor from Minister of Agriculture, that we need to remember that there are three parts. So there is people, there is nature, and then there is technology. So technology is by no means playing very crucial part, is already playing crucial part in helping to achieve such ambitious goals, but still we need to concentrate also on the people. So here, on one hand, we have challenges that I hear a lot, that it needs to be upskilling, reskilling for the people right now working in the market, in the agriculture, because they're gonna need much more knowledge. That's from one point. And on the other hand, it's a huge opportunity because we can bring in people to the regions, to the country, because they would be attracted to the technological solutions. And by that means that out of the sudden, agri-food sector, which seemed for many years that it's kind of, only walking on the fields or milking cows or just, I don't know, pulling the plow behind you, out of the sudden becomes high-tech, ruled by artificial intelligence, where you can predict what's going on your fields, and et cetera, et cetera. So my organization, an ecosystem, we are trying to collaborate very closely with the academia, for example, to create new learning, teaching courses, to create new, totally new ambitions plans for the new students, for example. I know for sure being new teaching courses created for Green Deal, just concentrating on the Green Deal and digitalization, and teaching your young people what it is and how can you apply that for the agri-food sector, for example, and not only for the agri-food sector, of course, for other sectors too. On the other hand, there are special courses also being created for the upskilling and reskilling for the right now human resources, for the people working right now in the industry, so they would not be left behind, so they can stay where they work at. And that, again, it's not an easy job, because these new objectives coming in, and for all that, you always need resources, you need funding. So with the European Commission talking about the Pact of Skills, for example, I had an honor to participate in the roundtable discussion with 2 commissioners, and they said that each member state should concentrate on for the upskilling and reskilling in order to achieve the Green Deal goals. So this is very important. Even though business is ready and we're ready to invest and we have high-tech companies, on the other hand, even when we talk about farmers, in many cases there is this opinion that farmers somehow, they don't want to implement new technologies, or they don't want Green Deal, or they're against it. It's not quite true, because first of all, for the farmers, it comes a new burden, a new, So it's again the way we're gonna be making it. Like, there is no way we could go without any funding on that. So like I'm saying, on one side, businesses are ready, we can do it, but we need some support also on the governmental level. And there is no way, when we talk about the Green Deal, it's not if, it's when. So I think it's only on the collaboration, how we're going to be planning, because we have the structural period coming up. So it only depends how this funding is going to be set up and on what kind of terms. And I think it's very normal, for example, to suggest or talk with the social partners, with the non-governmental organizations, and just gather together. It's very nice. We know what we need to achieve in 2030 or 2050, but what we're going to be doing for 5 next years. For example, what we want to achieve in agri-food sector. I'm not even going into other sectors. I just have a question for this. And I think it's quite achievable to have just short vision or strategy, just with simple steps, because we are hearing today here fantastic many different solutions, from high-tech to natural resources, renewable energy. But what's going to be the priority? What we're going to be implementing for the agri-food sector? What's the most important? Where do we start? So these are very important questions.
And how to calculate that? Okay, it was so nice. And maybe we have any questions from audience? Maybe from YouTube? No? Okay, that's great, because you're like a great panelist. And we can talk a bit more. So, Marius, maybe we have like 10 minutes left. So, can I hear from you like some final words from position of Ministry of Environment and regarding to Christina about the skills thing and some kind of funding?
Yeah, and where we need to spend all the money. As I said, to the border of Lithuania. Yeah, we have some priorities here, and we know some priorities what we have here in our ministry. And what I would like to wish, if I was talking about mindset, and I would like to talk about working together. Because before, I think Ministry of Environment was this poor guy that was going behind every ministry and was with a hand, and please save the nature, please save the rivers, please don't pollute, please. And everybody was, okay, maybe we will, maybe we're not. And that's the truth. And nowadays, I'm very glad, I mean, how we are cooperating, let's say, with Ministry of Agriculture. It's actually a very nice cooperation. We are talking, we are finding solutions. We are on the same page. I think we never were on the same page. There are some people we are not on the same page, but I don't talk about them. So, I wish that this cooperation would start and this would proceed. And if it will be like this, I think we will reach the goals. That's my.
Okay, thank you very much, Marius and Jonas. How we will reach our tech and biotech and nature-based solution goals?
Actually, I think that we are in very good position with Lithuania and in Lithuania, and from what I have been talking with agencies in Lithuania, for example, Vadrum agency responsible for agricultural products control, also ministries. The common understanding is really in favor both of new technologies and Green Deal in general. People really understand what has to be done. My only afraid is about bureaucrats in Brussels, and I really kind of scary of them because they are very can be tricked by a lot of forces, and part of these forces are lobbyists of big multinationals, and yeah, these things can trigger small political changes and regulations and directives which can be absolutely working contra to the Green Deal main goals, and this is basically my only and afraid. I do not afraid of Lithuania political and bureaucrat environment, because I really feel that people are here with goodwill and common understanding. Just let's see how Europe regulations will affect us from now on, and it's very counterintuitive because everybody is talking about Green Deal and how Europe is forcing us to go into that direction. But let's see how it will help with policy making also to go into the same direction.
Yeah, it will be really helpful to have a clear objectives and like a clear statements for 20 or 30 years like we have right now, but we don't have like a lot of policy papers from European Commission, for example, and we need them right now, as can I mention as well?
See that I'm not Eurosceptic. I really like that we are in European Union and we can get these kind of gatherings and have common market. All that is good. Just we have somehow to navigate to all that jungles and to find a way really to help our environment and soil to reach Green Deal targets and do not be affected by over-regulation, which can sometimes happen.
Okay, thank you. And Christina, your final words?
I cannot agree more with Marius' final words. So collaboration, cooperation, collaboration, this is the main point. And if we already are making history, as Marius said, two ministries collaborating so closely, probably we can make even bigger history by collaborating with everyone in the market, with all the stakeholders and working with everyone. And for sure, I know that in the ministry, this is probably the first time you're going to have working groups for the different sectors. That's very nice to hear also. And yeah, the main thing I would say, that's collaboration and cooperation. The more open we're going to be, discuss that, it's going to be easier to achieve those goals, and they're very ambitious. So.
Okay, so thank you very much, Jonas, Christina, Marius, and Eva, who is not right now with us, but still. And thank you all the audience, and thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the discussion.
It's a great pleasure for me to say a few words at the end of the Business and Science Forum. And first of all, I would like to thank you for all the representatives of the government, business and science, and also many thanks for our moderators, Mindaugas and Rasa. And also thank you all for being here with us. And I believe together we can do more. And let me wish for all of us to have a lot of energy, enthusiasm, and sheer trust and the resolve on our ways toward achieving the better future for all. So thank you, and some technical information. our bus to the gala dinner will be waiting you at 6:15, and this bus will leave to the gala dinner. And now you are welcome to continue discussion, having a coffee cup, and see you later, and thank you again.